Good evening. This is Amy Morton, and I want to welcome you on behalf of Lester Miller for Mayor's campaign to our Tele-TownHall tonight. We have a good program for you. We're glad that you decided to join us. And during the town hall, if you have a question, just press 7 on your phone and you'll be placed in line to ask your question. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lester Miller.
Thank you, Ms. Morton, and thank you for taking your time to join us this evening. This is Lester Miller. As most of you know, I'm a candidate for Macon-Bibb Mayor. What you may not know is I'm also a small business owner, starting my first business at age 21, and I currently have 7 small businesses in Middle Georgia. So I know personally that many small business owners and employees are worried and hurting right now, and have some lost their jobs and some been laid off because of the coronavirus. As you may know, over the last few weeks, Georgia businesses have worked hard to adjust their schedules about the COVID-19 outbreak, and a variety of emergency orders were issued by various counties and municipalities, including right here in Macon-Bibb County. Recently, Governor Kemp signed an executive order also. For Georgia small businesses trying to keep their operations going, it's important to understand the statewide order, which went into full force in effect at 6 o'clock on April the 3rd, 2020. This is a challenging time, but we know there's resources to help. Our last town hall, just a couple of weeks ago, we discussed the importance of keeping everybody safe during the COVID-19 and what you could do to kind of flatten the curve. Tonight, we're going to focus on how well we can keep the small business, how we can help the small businesses in our community. First of all, I want to thank Lawton Jordan, a Georgia-based business attorney who's with us this evening to help answer your questions and talk about what is available through the CARES Act and other programs. Just a little information about Lawton. He was selected for inclusion in the legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine. He's a member of the State Bar of Georgia and the Atlanta Bar Association, and a past member of the Executive Committee of the Real Property Section of the State Bar. Lawton graduated from Wake Forest University in 1993 and received his Juris Doctorate degree in 2000 from the University of Georgia School of Law. He was appointed by Governor Nathan Deal to Georgia Ethics Commission and served on the task force for promotion of public trust. Previously, Lawton also worked as an associate director of the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, serving as a liaison between governors, mayors, and state legislators with the executive branch. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Lawton Jordan.
Thank you very much. It's good to join you here tonight, and I'm going to sort of give an overview of the programs that are out there, and hopefully after that we can have time for some questions. I'm going to try to keep it very brief and succinct. There are basically 2 programs for small businesses. The first is the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, and these are loans that have been available for some time for people that suffer disasters like tornadoes or hurricanes. But what the government has done is they've made them available to all small business owners now. And the application is online at the Small Business Administration, and any small business can get a $10,000 grant that they can use to pay people, to deal with supply chain disruptions, and to make mortgage and lease payments. So any small business can get that, and it'll be funded relatively quickly. The main program, the new program, is called the Paycheck Protection Act, Paycheck Protection Loans. And this was passed by the Congress and signed into law by President Trump in late March, and it's just been rolled out. It just went live last Friday. So what I thought I'd do is talk about how it's supposed to work, and then I'll sort of tell you how it's been rolled out. So this Paycheck Protection Act is for small businesses which is defined as businesses with less than 500 employees. You apply at your local bank or credit union, and I would encourage you to apply at the bank where you already have a business relationship. And the whole point of this act is to encourage businesses to retain their employees. And if you do retain your employees, then the entire amount of the loan is forgivable. So in terms of applying for small businesses, there's a worksheet that your bank will give you, or that we can give you, and it basically provides for paying 2.5 months of payroll. And payroll is defined as what you pay in salaries, what you pay in health insurance premiums, and what you pay for retirement benefits. Any amount you pay in salary over $100,000 is not included. But say you have one employee who makes $84,000 a year, that's $7,000 a month. Multiply 7,000 by 2.5, that means you would get $17,500 for that employee. So if you had multiple employees, you'd do that same math for those employees based on what they're making. Now, this is also available for people who are independent contractors or sole proprietorship. So if you're operating as a single-member LLC and all your work is contract work, the same math applies. You take the average for what you made in 2019 and calculate 2.5 months of income, and that's what you'd be eligible to receive under the Paycheck Protection Loan. Now, in terms of forgiveness, they're going to see what you do with the money during the next 8 weeks after you get it. You can use it for payroll, you can use it to pay your mortgage or your lease, and you can pay it for utility payments. But 75% of it has to be used for payroll, and that gets back to the purpose of the loan, which is to encourage you to keep your people employed. So when it comes time for forgiveness, you will provide proof of that to your bank, and then they will process it. Now, if your employment has changed, it might affect the amount that's forgivable. So in other words, if you have laid off people, they'll put it into a formula, and perhaps not all of the loan will be forgivable. But as long as you keep the same employment, it's 100% forgivable. I'm just going to run through quickly some of the most common questions I've received about this. Are nonprofits eligible? Yes, they are. Do you have to put up a personal guarantee or post collateral? No, you don't. If the whole loan is not forgiven, when do I have to start making payments? And the answer is not for 6 months. The loan has a 2-year term and a 1% interest rate. What documentation do I have to provide? Generally, you have to provide a copy of your tax returns, proof of payroll, and proof that you've paid the amounts towards retirement and health insurance premiums that you're claiming. Of course, the main question people ask is, when am I going to get the money? And some people have already gotten the money. Banks are being encouraged by the federal government to process these very quickly. But the rollout of this has been a little bit bumpy. So some people are having trouble applying with their banks. Wells Fargo has stopped accepting applications. So I expect these kinks to get worked out in the next week or so. And I do expect that once you're able to submit your application, you will get the funds fairly quickly. Another point is that no one can charge you a fee to apply for this loan. The lender and any agent you use, they're paid by the federal government, but they're not paid out of your loan proceeds. There are a few limitations on this loan. I won't get into them, but if you have a criminal record or in an illegal business, you're probably not eligible for this. You can only apply once, so you want to get it right the first time you do it. And in terms of filling out the paperwork, everyone who owns 20% or more of the business will need to sign the application form. So what I would recommend to people that want to apply is to contact their bank to get together the documents they need to apply, to fill out the spreadsheet showing what they're being entitled to, and then to go ahead and submit the application. The application process, it started last Friday for small businesses. It'll start this Friday, April the 10th, for independent contractors, and it will run through June the 30th. If you're following the news, a lot of people are worried the funds are going to run out before they're exhausted. There was $350 billion put into that, but the administration in Washington has indicated that if that happens, they will seek to put additional funds in there because they are so concerned about pumping money into the economy so the unemployment rate stays as high as possible, or stays as low as possible. So anyway, that's the basic overview. I'll be happy to answer any questions or clarify anything.
the opportunity and would like to ask a question, just simply press 7 on your phone to ask a question. And we have a question from Ms. Pauline Glover that is, Ms. Glover, I'm going to put you on live now. This is a general question.
When are we going to get this similar to check money? Are they coming to the bank in your account or where? How long will it take for us to get it?
The answer to that question, the honest answer is I don't know exactly. I know the federal government is trying to get it out as quickly as possible. It's my understanding that Social Security recipients are going to have the money deposited in their bank. But I would suggest that that's a question best asked posed to the Social Security Administration.
Very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Glover. And we have several calls that are waiting. Hold on just one moment. I have one question that is right here, and that is, and I'm going to move you up, and this is from an anonymous caller who he wanted me to pose the question to you, and that was whether or not independent contractors were eligible for any of these programs.
Yes. So independent contractors are eligible. They will be able to apply starting on Friday, April the 10th. And the application process for them is virtually identical to the process for small businesses. They will take their net earnings from calendar year 2019. They will divide them by 12. So say if we'll use the previous example I used for small businesses. Say you were an independent contractor and your net earnings were $84,000 in 2019. Divide that by 12 for $7,000 a month. Multiply that by 2.5, and the math on that is $17.5 thousand. So that's what you would be eligible for as an independent contractor. That would also apply whether you're operating as individually as a sole proprietorship or whether you were you had an LLC or S corp that you were operating under. And then 8 weeks after you got the loan, you would apply for forgiveness, showing that you spent 75% of the money, at least 75% of the money, on paying yourself, and you could use the other 25% for utility, rent, and mortgage payments.
Okay, we're going to move to our next question from it's either Mr. or Ms. Abent, and you're going to be live now. And so you should be live. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, sir. I mean, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
The question I would like to ask, and I did ask it to the other guy that answered, are hairdressers and individuals like that, are they eligible for this money?
Yeah, the answer is yes. The answer I gave before that applied to independent contractors would apply to you. Now, I don't want to get too technical. I'm assuming a hairdresser in this example is an independent contractor. If you're paid a salary, you're not eligible. But if you're given a 1099, then yes, you are eligible to apply under this program.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Well, in that point, yes. Can I ask one more?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, the other one is, like, people have, like jobs that have I don't know how to ask it. Well, I'm sorry, and that's okay. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. The next question is from Commissioner Valerie Wynn. Let me move you to the top, and you'll be live. Ms. Wynn.
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to ask your question?
Oh, yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for doing this, both of you. And the comment was made a couple of times that you will be paid relatively quickly. That's a wide open answer. So what do you think relatively quickly means in the way of getting payments on these loans?
Well, that's a fair question. Look, some people have been paid all.
2 months.
Some people. No, I think people are going to be paid much quicker than that. Some people have already been paid. Some people applied at 12:01 on Friday morning. But I mean, the honest answer is, I think you're going to be paid as soon as the banks can process them and interface with the federal government. The program just rolled out on Friday. If you do a Google search, there have been a lot of hiccups in the process. My guess is most of those will get worked out in the next 5 to 7 days, and that most people will see their payments, in less than 10 days. That's a guess, an educated guess, but I do believe the federal government is very focused on trying to get this money out as quickly as possible.
Okay, and the second part of my question was about hairdressers, because most of those people are sole proprietors or independent contractors that just work in a salon, but they don't get paid at all by the salon. They have to rent their space. But you answered that question, that they would be eligible. And the third thing I want to ask real quick is what kind of proof is required to confirm that they actually use the money to pay salaries and benefits and things like that? I'm concerned about that.
The Small Business Administration has not rolled out their regulations for that, but I think based on what they're requiring for this part of it, they'll take bank records showing that you paid yourself.
Okay, I think this is a good program, but I think we just need to make sure it's not abused by some, which is always the case you have to worry about.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did we answer your questions?
You did, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move to Cleveland Payne. I'm going to move you into live. You're next. And you should be live now. Would you like to ask your question? If he's still on the line, Cleveland wanted to know, will our local government have officials in place to take care of citizens even after this situation has passed? And Lester, I think that's a question for you.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead. I wasn't hearing you.
I do want to know, are we going to have officials in place that will monitor this and monitor it so that we'll know that the money is spent wisely and they won't be padding their program downtown, so that we will not know what's going to, because the citizens who work hard, they deserve the best government, and they need to know that this money is coming in. It's not going to be like the farce that Katrina had, and I think it's a wise program. I think it's a good program, and I appreciate you doing it, but I worry about the people that might take advantage of it and not the people that deserve it.
Okay, thank you. Lester, do you want to start with that from a local perspective, and then maybe Lawton can address the controls, just in terms of Thank you.
Certainly, that's a legitimate concern, and I've been asked that question by a lot of people. One of the things we have when you have an emergency situation like this is always the great need to get the money out to the people that need it the worst as soon as possible. Unfortunately, you do have situations where people take advantage of it, and that's something that has to be monitored. I'm sure on a local level there's been a group that's been discussing this already to make sure that everything is verified, but this is going to be controlled by regulations, and also some of this money may have to be paid back if it's not used for the intended purposes, because they're asking you to sign these documents saying that you're going to use them for that, and it may be created in a situation where you have an actual loan that has to be repaid back, even though the interest rate is at a low rate. And Lawton, do you have anything to add to that?
Lawton, do you have anything to add to that? Lawton.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I agree with that. The government is trying to get the money out quickly, but they are going to look at the documents that you submit when you apply. They're going to look at the documents you submit when you seek forgiveness. So some of this verification and cleanup may happen after the fact, but the application form clearly states that that lie in on the application or using the money for an improper purpose will subject people to criminal penalties. And the law has a long arm, but eventually it usually reaches out and catches up to people who aren't doing the right thing.
Thank you. Did we answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, as long as that's enforced, I'm happy with that.
Thank you. And we're going to move on. And I just want to remind everyone that if those who are on the line, if you press 7, you can ask a question and we'll put you in line. There are several questions pending. We have time for probably three more. I'm going to move Sue Jones she's next, and you should be live now. Ms. Jones, do you have a question?
Yes. I thought he typed it in, but anyway, my question is, okay, my question is, on the CARE grant,
yes, ma'am.
And on I'm not sure the name of it, the payroll, whatever, loan program, are small businesses eligible to apply for both of those?
What was the first one you asked about?
I think you referred to it as CARE grant.
Okay, so I call it the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and the answer is you can apply to both. You're probably better off applying for one or the other, though. What I've been generally telling my clients is that if you qualify for less than $10,000 under the Paycheck Protection Loan, that you would be better off applying for the disaster loan. And the reverse is true. If you qualify for more under the Paycheck Protection Loan, just use that. It gets a little complicated because you can also roll a disaster loan into the paycheck loan, but that's probably a little more complicated than we want to talk about here tonight.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. I just wondered if it would be, beneficial for small business to apply for both of them, since it's such a disaster for a lot of small businesses at this time.
Yeah, no, I would just pick one or the other.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We have another question from an anonymous caller who wanted to know if in addition to independent contractors, if sole proprietors were covered under the Paycheck Protection Act.
The answer is yes. They are absolutely covered just the same way that independent contractors are covered. The same hypothetical that I use for independent contractors would apply to sole proprietors, and they can apply starting on Friday, April the 10th.
Okay, and our next question is from Verdell Carswell, and I'm going to move you into live now, and you should be live now. Verdell Ms. Carswell?
Yes. I work in a beauty salon, and I'm self-employed there, and I would like to know what steps do I need to do.
So what you should do is you should contact your bank, whoever you bank with, and you should ask them to either give you the link on the internet where you can apply for this, or if you don't have a computer hookup, to go into their office or have them mail you a form where you can fill out the information and apply for this loan.
Does that answer your question? Excuse me. Yes. Does that answer your question, Ms. Carswell?
Yes.
And let me add one more thing, if I might, Amy.
Sure. No, go ahead.
The way this has been working is banks have pretty much been limiting this to their existing customers. The federal government has indicated that's going to change in the next couple of days. So if you don't have a banking relationship, or you don't have one that you like, I think in the next few days, other banks will be making this available to people who aren't their customers. So basically follow the news as the additional lenders becoming available.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Carswell. we have time for one more question, and if there's anyone else who would like to ask a question, if you'll press 7 on your phone now. If not, we are near the end of our time together, and Lester, I was going to send this back to you to let you and Lawton close this up. If anybody jumps in with a question, I'll let you know.
Well, thank you, Ms. Morton. And again, tonight has been very beneficial. I think a lot of our people had some good questions. And one thing we did learn is there's much uncertainty out there. Every day we have something new that is challenging for us. I personally own a beauty shop in Macon, Georgia, and a lot of these questions were very familiar to me. One thing I will say is that the answer you got 2 days ago may change tomorrow, and there has been some issues with the system. I ask that you stay with with it. Go to a banker that you trust. There's a lot of banks in town that are doing this for only their bankers and for their customers, but I think there's been a lot more improved here recently, and those people are going to open it up. You have to please be patient. A lot of times with the number of influx that they've had there for people requesting this type of money, as you can imagine, it created some delay. I do know that the first people that got in last week, some of those people already have their money, so that gives me some encouragement. I want to thank Lawton Jordan for being with us tonight. He's been a great help. He's one of the experts in this area, and we appreciate him being on the call tonight. I will remind everyone that if you have any questions and you're unable to answer those tonight during our time, you can leave those questions on a voicemail, and we can return your calls. Lawton, thank you very much for being here tonight. If you have any final words, we'll give you the time to say that now.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be asked to participate, and I enjoyed it very much. So good luck. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all, and good evening. And we look forward to you joining us for the next town hall.
Thank you and good night.